Welcome back to Headlines and Heartlines. I'm your host, Vanessa Brazier, owner and publisher of Bluebonnet News of Texas. We're continuing our interviews with candidates for local office as we head toward the March 3rd, 2026 primary. Because as we all know, election season is a marathon, not a sprint. Today, I am joined by Dan Mims, a Republican candidate for U.S. Congress in Texas's newly drawn Congressional District 9, a district that now includes Liberty County and East Harris County. And with a new district comes new priorities, new challenges, and a chance to reset the conversation about representation in Washington, D.C. We're going to talk to Dan about what he sees as his mission and his goals as if he is elected to this position. So, Dan, thank you for joining me.
Oh, Vanessa, I appreciate it. Thank you for
It's Vanessa.
Oh, Vanessa.
Vanessa, that's good.
I apologize.
No, that's good.
I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity. It's I love talking to voters, love talking to anybody that's interested. I think that's the best part about the campaign is meeting voters and listening and learning about them and answering questions. So,
what's the biggest thing you've learned on the campaign trail so far?
I think voters really, a lot of them have, or oddly enough, still haven't looked at the race, but the ones that have, they really seem to be interested, I think, in ethics in the way that Congress operates.
Okay.
That seems to be a large part of what they're interested in. Of course, they're interested in affordability, things of that nature, the border security, but I think a lot of it is just how Congress operates, and they want to feel like they can trust the person that's representing them to actually be working in their best interest.
Have they mentioned the Epstein files at all? No.
They don't care.
They don't care. They just want ethics.
If they care, they don't mention it.
They've not mentioned it.
No.
I'm surprised people aren't mentioning taxes or, just...
I don't hear a lot about taxes, oddly enough. They'll talk about prescription drug costs.
That's a good one.
Insurance costs. Unfortunately, some of that is homeowners, which, that's state.
Yeah.
But definitely health insurance, but a lot of it is prescription drug costs.
Yeah. Well, let's so tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to run for Congress.
Well, I was watching the race. I watched the redistricting, and I've always loved politics, so I found it entertaining just to watch the process. And when the new district came out, it's like, it was interesting, and still hadn't thought about it. I didn't make this decision until late. Wasn't on my radar screen, or as they say, not on my bingo card.
Yeah.
But when I was watching, saw who was throwing their name in, and I'm going, not too sure about that. And had some people encouraging me to run, and so reached out, talked to the professionals, and said, if I do this, is there an opportunity? And they came back and said yes. But I've got two granddaughters, and I worry a lot about what the future holds for them. I worry about, are they going to have the same freedoms and liberties that we had growing up? I worry if they are going to be able to worship in the place and manner in which they choose. I worry about the debt that we're saddling them with. We can't just keep putting our grandchildren and great-grandchildren deeper and deeper in debt. And so I didn't feel like the folks that were running were the right people to address those issues. I've ran a business. I had no choice but have a balanced budget. If you don't have a balanced budget in business, you're not in business very long. I've had to manage people. We had 175 employees. I've worked, I'm the only candidate that's actually donated their time, talent, and treasure to make the community a better place to live. I've served North Shore Rotary Club for 27 years. I'm a past president of the club. I've served Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo for 22 years, held leadership positions there. And then I've got 22 years with San Jacinto College, where I'm currently chair of the board. So I'm used to working with people, especially people who don't always agree with you, and getting them to coalesce behind a decision that's best for, whether it be Rotary, rodeo, college, especially college. We want a decision that's best for the institution, best for the students. Also keep in mind the taxpayers, the employers who are hiring our students. So you're always looking at these things and making sure that you're working in the interest of that. And while our races are nonpartisan, the members of the board are very partisan, and so it creates some opportunities to test my skill sets. But they're a great group of people is the bottom line, and we are able to set aside our partisanship. So I'm used to doing that. I'm used to working. The other issue is with my service on the board, I have to work with whomever's in office.
Yeah.
So I work with both sides of the aisle, and I've done so effectively for 20 years. I've worked a lot in Washington, D.C., advocating for community colleges, and I know how Washington works. So I feel like I have a unique set of skills. I also have an ag background. So I've got the business background, ag, community service, public service. And I feel like I can take all those experiences and all the skills and hopefully some wisdom that I've garnered over the years and use that for the best interests of our voters. And our voters are the only people I have to answer to. The good news is I have no political debts. So I don't answer to anybody but the voters of District 9. And I can do whatever they want me to do. I don't have to ask anybody's permission.
You think there's some funny money involved in this race?
Well, I'll let somebody else decide that.
Yeah.
You know, I always say, if you want to know what's going on, follow the money.
Yeah, political action committees and
follow the money. It'll tell you a lot.
Yeah.
But with me, I'm mostly self-funded. I've had a lot of friends who have donated, and some of them, donated a fair amount. But none of that came with strings. They're just people who know me, support me, believe that I'll do a good job for the right reasons, and wanted to, help me be successful. But as far as, like I said, political debt, I don't owe anyone but the voters. So
that's good.
I think that's a neat place to be when you walk in the door.
What kind of business were you in?
Had multiple. The one that most people remember is Mims Meat Company.
Okay.
My dad started in 1945. I began managing in 1985 at a very young age, and right out of college. And then I ran it until 2010 when I sold it. A couple of years later, opened a business called Mims Warehouse Solutions, a third-party storage company, and I ran that for 11 years and sold that in March of 24. So.
Are you effectively retired until now?
I was retired until I did this.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
That was the first thing my wife mentioned to me when I broached the subject of running, and she looked at me and she says, "Well, you're retired, right?" I go, "Yes, I do."
Yes.
But that's why I have time to do it. When I was running my business, especially the cold storage facility, I had no time for this. Mims Meat Company was 175 employees. Mims Warehouse was 5 employees. So
Yeah.
I had to be very hands-on.
Yeah.
I couldn't be away for extended periods of time. And so
175 is a lot to manage.
it is, but I had 10 department managers.
Okay.
And so
That made it a little bit easier.
I managed the 10 and let them manage everybody else.
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the way you have to do it when you get to that point.
Well, Congressional District 9 is newly drawn and now includes Liberty County along
Correct.
with Harris County, East Harris County. How do you define the identity of this district, and what do you see as the shared concerns that unite such different communities? Are they different?
In some ways, yes, they are. I mean, in the Harris County portion, it's heavily industrialized with all the petrochem industry and the Port of Houston, which I have experience in both of those. In Mims Meat Company, we used to service the refineries, food to feed the employee feeding. We also serviced Stokes shipping. Their ships would send the orders to us when they got into the Gulf. We would assemble the order, and then once they docked at the port, we'd go deliver the product to them so they'd have food for the ship when they left. And I'm probably the only person running that had employees with TWIC cards, so I'm pretty familiar with the Port of Houston. Plus, in my storage business, I handle both inbound and outgoing containers to the Bayport container terminal. So again, a lot of experience with those. But I also have ag experience, and I think especially, and there's ag in our part of Harris County, not as much as Liberty County. And
You've got the grass farms for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see those.
You just drove past
Yeah,
a couple
I did.
of them. There's one right next door, as a matter of fact, and across the street. But we need to make certain that our families who want to stay in the ag business are able to do so. And I understand that some families are transitioning, and I get it. young people may not
Want to carry it on.
Yeah. And that's something those families have to manage. I don't think it's up to anybody else to manage. It's up to them. But for those who want to do it, or maybe someone who wants to buy that family farm and keep it in ag, we need to make sure that we're doing the things that help them to do so. We're not overburdening them with regulations or taxes or just, let those. I'm a big believer in agriculture in this country, in this state, in this region. We do not need to be buying our food from overseas.
I agree.
We're getting our food domestically.
But we are getting a lot from overseas.
We do. And some of it, you have to.
Certain fruits.
Some things we just don't have here. And then some things we don't produce enough. I mean, there are a variety of reasons. But we do export a lot of food. That's why I used to tell people about the meat business. They complain about how much meat we import, but they don't understand how much meat we export, and we export a lot.
Yeah.
So it is a two-way street, but we need to make sure that. But jobs, I think jobs are something that's common for both the Harris County side and the Liberty County side. Mm-hmm. And I know in talking to some of the county leaders in Liberty, they would love to see some more businesses come in with some better paying jobs. And I, would love to work with them and help get that done. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of industries out there that, we can certainly look at to try to, again, work with local officials. I think collaboration is very important, and it doesn't matter if it's job creation or we're going to talk about flood control. All these things, I think they all have to start at the local level. And as a representative in Washington, I have to listen and let the local people tell me what they need and then help get the funding to take care of it. Because too often we see Washington trying to tell states, counties, municipalities how to do their business. I'm not a fan of that. Mm-hmm. I think I'm a big believer in local governance. And my job would be to support local governance, not to dominate or interfere with local governance. Flood control is important for both sides of the district. As I shared the other night at a forum, in Harris County, Montgomery County, all these other counties north of here, their floodwaters are going to run through District 9.
They go south.
One way or the other. They got to get to the base, so they're going to come down the San Jacinto River, they're going to come down
Trinity.
Buffalo Bayou, they're going to come down Trinity River. And so flood mitigation is, I think, critical to both sides, to both counties in the district. And again, I think we have to take a more regional approach, because what happens is sometimes counties north of us do a pretty good job. Yeah. Then we're stuck with it. They get it out of their county and dump it in our counties, and we're like, okay, now what do we do with it?
And then we have to send it down to Chambers County in some parts of Liberty County.
Right. So we need to look at a regional approach, and again, work with, the county commissioners in Chambers County, Liberty County, Harris County, the mayors, all the key players, and make sure we're working regionally so that, okay, great, I'm glad San Jacinto County and Montgomery County have gotten rid of their floodwater. But let's make sure it flows through and doesn't drown us in the process.
Well, Liberty County's working on a flood plan. We should have that this year. That'll be for new developments so that they can't come in and create problems. Right. But we still have the existing issues that need to be addressed, and there's no money for it.
Yeah, and so hopefully I can help find some federal funds. We always have to remember, federal government is essentially bankrupt. It's been that way for
Well, they're
years,
spending a lot of money on fraud.
But we certainly can work on that. And I think, the NGOs, things like USAID, I mean, you just see all this money and
no accountability.
It's total slush fund.
Yeah.
And we need to rein those spendings in. And even our government agencies, they're bloated. They're way too big. We can rein in most of the government agencies and save a ton of money. There's just been no accountability in government. Yeah. And we have to work on accountability at all levels, because we can't we can't keep burdening our great-grandchildren. Right. And that's what we're doing. Right. And
or pulling from other places that need the money, because Social Security needs the money and other areas need the money.
We're an aging population, and Social Security wasn't a very good design. So
it's not meant to be a retirement plan, though.
Yeah, And it just, at the time you had more people coming in than you had, but now we're at the opposite.
Yeah.
Now we have our population is an aging population. There aren't enough young people. Our birth rate's not even enough to keep up with just breaking even in our population. So
it's a little alarming.
Yeah.
China's having the same problem because they said that China's numbers are way inflated. I heard that in a report the other day.
Yeah, so, and that's why your school districts are experiencing, most school districts are experiencing year-over-year declines in enrollment, and it's probably going to continue. There just aren't, the birth rate just keeps declining.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Unless that changes.
For whatever reasons.
Right.
Yeah. So for voters who may not follow Congress closely, and I know this is maybe not fair because you're not elected yet, but you've done your research. What does a U.S. representative actually do on a day-to-day basis, and what part of the job do you believe is most misunderstood?
Well, the number one job of Congress is to pass a budget, and that's what they're supposed to do every year. And we don't really need to be doing these omnibus continuing resolutions. We need to get back to regular order and pass the 12 bills that are supposed to be passed every year and make sure our budget's fully funded and balanced. That takes a lot of work. And if you really start digging into the budget, we can say, oh, well, let's just balance, but it takes a lot of work. It's a pretty complex budget. And doing that is going to take a lot of time. Also, I think what people don't understand is if you do this job correctly, whether you're in Washington, whether you're home, and especially when you're home, you need to be out listening to the voters. You need to be actively seeking the input from voters so that you know what their needs are, so that when you're in Washington, you can help meet those needs. But if you don't know what the needs are, you're just sitting up there wandering around aimlessly. You've got to be local. If you're not here local, if you're not home in your district, every chance you get, you're not going to know what's going on. And you can't be remote. I couldn't run my business remotely. I had to be there every day. At some point, I may not have to be there all day, every day, but I had to be there. You can't run a business remotely. You can't be a member of Congress remotely. You cannot live in Washington, D.C. and represent a district here in Harris, Liberty County. You've got to be here. When you're not in session, when you're not having to be in Washington, D.C., you need to be here at home, listening to voters, actively pursuing what their needs are.
So when you say that, do you mean like hosting town halls?
Hosting town halls, going and visit, even if it's just
going to the Chamber of Commerce,
or in city council meetings, or just meeting with the county judges, meeting with the mayors, meeting with the sheriffs, meeting with school superintendents, boards of trustees. I think schools is another area. I'm a strong believer in local control. The local school district knows what's best for their district, and just as I feel like the board of trustees at St. Lucia College knows what's best for our students, and so I really believe that in local governance.
Okay. If you are elected, what would be your top 3 legislative priorities during your first term, and why should district voters care about them specifically?
Well, 3 of the top things I would like to work on. Number 1 is term limits.
What would be the term limits? Like 2 terms?
No, it's not. That's unfortunately, if you've ever been to Washington, that's not realistic.
Because you have to take a while to get up to speed, right?
It takes a little while to get up to speed, and then just the way government functions, that would create more harm than good.
What's realistic then?
I think 10 to 12 years.
Okay.
Is reasonable.
It's like 3 terms?
Ours are 2-year terms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
The House of Representatives.
5 to 6 terms.
Exactly.
And then you're done. You go home.
And that's my pledge. I'm going to serve 10 years and come home. I'm not, no one, if I love you, if I think you're the most wonderful person in the world, you don't need to be in Washington, D.C. for 30 years. I could have helped put you there. You could be my best buddy. But no, you don't need to be there. None of us. Yeah. There's no one running in this race that I feel like needs to be there 30 years from now.
You just kind of become a cog in the wheel.
You do, and what happens is your most important job becomes staying there, as opposed to serving the voters.
And then it messes up your interests and your...
You become very, your thinking becomes very disruptive. The other issue I'd like to address is congressional stock trading. I'm tired of members of, individuals being elected, going to Washington, going to Austin.
Nancy Pelosi.
And, they got $200,000 in their bank account.
And they come out as millionaires.
10 years later, they've got oddly $10-15 million.
Ilhan Omar. Yeah. Yeah.
Look, again, follow the money. That doesn't happen. That's not real. And anyone who assumes that, they're just a really good investor. No, they're not.
No, there's something else going on.
Well, and they have access to information that you and I don't have. And they take unfair advantage of that information.
To make investments.
And we don't have that information. So it's unfair. And fair is a tough word for me to use, but
it's insider trading, though. It's
insider trading at the highest level.
Yeah.
And we have to stop that. I just feel like, again, if you've got investments when you go and you want to maintain them, and I'm not telling you have to divest all your assets, but we've got to put some controls in there so that you can leave it, but as long as you're here, you just kind of have to leave things where they are. Now, if you want to go play in the stock market, then hey, leave Congress, do it.
Yeah.
But as long as you're in Congress, then playing in the stock market's probably, and even real estate investments. They know where the next road's going. They know where the next bridge is going.
Yeah.
They know things that we don't know.
Right.
And they they use that insider information for self-gain.
They can still give it to their family members, though. They can still give it's going to be hard to...
It's not an easy task. It'll be a complicated set of regulations because you're right. Mm-hmm. They've got their family members, their spouse, their brother, their cousin, their nephew. So yes, it's
dishonorable.
Just because you have the right to do something doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Right.
And some people don't know how to separate those things. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that I have the right to do, but I have the wisdom to not do it. I have the right to walk down the sidewalk in downtown Houston with a shotgun. I'm not going to do it. Mm-mm. Okay, it's not smart. It's not wise. It's not logical. It's not reasonable. But I got the right to do it. So just because you have the right to do it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
And I think that's where something like gets lost.
So number 3?
Congress needs to do their job.
Okay.
Number one job of Congress is passing a budget. They also have abdicated too much of their responsibilities to the various and sundry government agencies. And we've got to pull that back, get it back in Washington, and stop allowing unelected bureaucrats run our businesses and our personal lives. Regarding the budget, if they don't pass that budget every year the way they're supposed to, and we go into a government shutdown, every member of Congress needs to lose their paycheck. I think it's very arrogant of our members of Congress to continue to accept a paycheck while asking our service members, our flight controllers, our federal law enforcement,
parks people,
hey, you guys just keep working. Or, if they don't keep working, either way, they don't get their check. That's right. Yeah. Y'all keep working. We'll pay you down the road sometime. Well, let me tell you something. They got bills to pay.
Yeah.
And they can't wait down the road. And, and then for a member of Congress to just sit back and say, well, we're just not going to do it because we didn't get our way, regardless of which side of the aisle you're sitting on, I just feel like that's a very arrogant position to take, and it's not healthy for our country.
Shutdowns have become ridiculous. This last one was ridiculous.
They've become ridiculous, and they're happening too often and too long, and they just don't need to happen.
It's a political tool now.
It is. So if you remove their paycheck, I think that may change a little bit.
Good.
There has to be a price to pay. As a business owner, if I made a bad decision, I paid the price.
Yes.
Congress needs to start paying a price for making bad decisions. Not passing a budget is a bad decision. It's not doing your job. Mm-hmm. When they don't do their job, they should face a negative consequence.
Agreed. And not be able to flee the state or flee the country or whatever they're doing.
And that's what they're currently. They just
disappear.
Keep living their lives. Just happy and I just. So those are 3 things. Certainly There's a myriad of other things, but I think those are some. What I hear, like you asked me earlier, what I hear a lot about from the voter is ethics, government operating ethically, and government being trusted.
And that gets to all those three things.
I think those three issues go towards what I hear from voters about. They want to feel like they can trust those of us who are representing them in Washington to be working solely in their best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the three things that I just laid out, I think are so important to me, because I think it's important. I know it's important. When I talk to voters one-on-one, and it's absolutely important to them.
Yeah.
And so it needs to become important to all of us. I mean, obviously, there are a myriad of other things they're interested in, but that seems to be at their core, is they want to be able to trust their elected officials, and they don't today.
Yeah.
Not to.
We haven't been able to trust them in a long time, though.
At least not to the way they would like
right.
to. And I think we have to restore trust and confidence in the American voters in our system.
You sound like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
It's not a bad movie.
It's not a bad movie. Yeah, he had to work against that system for sure. So what is your opinion of the tariffs? Are you in favor of the tariffs? Do you think that they're going to help you, eventually? Are they helping now?
I think tariffs are a tool. It's hard to measure exactly how they've impacted me at the grocery store. I know I came home the other day from the grocery store and I could carry everything in two hands. And
it's been that way for a while.
It was $218, and my wife goes, "Well, you forgot something." I go, "No, I didn't forget.
Yeah,
it's all here, dear."
It's expensive,
and so
just planning a family dinner can be expensive.
But there's a lot in that besides tariffs. I think tariffs can be a tool. I just heard on the radio, apparently, I think it was Taiwan that we've agreed to drop the tariffs because they agreed to drop theirs. And I think, and I was listening to that news report on the way here, and my thought on that is, well, I think that's a good way of using tariffs. Is go to a lot of countries.
It's a bargaining tool then.
A lot of countries have put unreasonable tariffs on goods coming out of the United States.
Cars.
So I think we should, in those instances, for those countries, my thought is whatever the highest tariff they place on us is what we place on them until they remove all of them. If we want free trade, then we want free trade. That means you can't tariff us, and guys, then we won't tariff you. I mean, fair is fair. But if you're going to put these enormous tariffs on our goods, then I think it's right to put it on theirs. And use that as a bargaining tool to get them to reduce or eliminate theirs.
Do you think it will help promote manufacturing in the United States?
I think it already has.
Okay.
I think absolutely. That's why you have more manufacturing coming on shore. We recently landed an Eli Lilly facility in the district, which Sanjak played a major role.
What are they going to be doing?
They'll be producing not necessarily pharmaceuticals, but
equipment,
bioengineering products. So more gene therapy type things.
Okay.
And some pretty amazing stuff that they're able to do. And I think there are more of those types of companies that are looking to bring their manufacturing plants here to the United States. And we see, even in the auto industry, some of them automakers have begun to bring plants back to the United States. So if we want American jobs, and we do, that's one way of doing it. Industries, especially multinational industries. I mean, they can operate anywhere. So they're looking at it's all cost, risk, reward, return on investment. They don't have a lot of. They just look at its dollars.
Yeah.
And that's how they make their decisions. So if we make it attractive to them financially to operate in the United States, we make sure that our regulations are not overburdening them. They'll operate here. They'll be happy to operate here. They only go overseas because we force them to go overseas. And if we make it to where it's more advantageous to be here, then they'll start showing up here. So I do think it's a way to bring manufacturing back on shore.
Of course, I'd love to see our district thrive, and I think it will. But I would also like to see cities like Milwaukee and and Detroit have manufacturing jobs again. To see car plants opening up.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Some of those cities have been decimated.
Oh, yeah.
And
they were built on that, and then when they left, it was just like, suck the air, the wind out of the air out of them.
It's very sad. I mean, it's been a few years since I went to Detroit, but I mean, it's sad when you drive through parts of that city.
Beautiful old homes that are dilapidated. Yeah.
And it could happen here if we don't
protect
care of
our
business. We have to protect our industries that are here,
right?
So that they don't pack up and leave,
right?
And some, you'll hear, well, they're not going to do that.
Well, they could.
Never say they won't. They will.
Yeah.
They absolutely will. I mean, you just look at California where they've already shuttered refineries because it just became too burdensome to operate.
I think Governor Abbott's done a good job of protecting Texas jobs.
He has, but we have to make sure we're doing that in Washington.
Yeah. So infrastructure, public safety, and disaster preparedness are ongoing concerns in Southeast Texas, especially Liberty County. We've had some major storms. What role should the federal government play in addressing these issues without overstepping local control?
Well, again, it's working with local, governance to make sure we're spending the things in the right spot. I like the idea of block grants.
Community development grants,
or the government. Okay, so let's take a disaster. We get a hurricane, we get another Ike, or we get a Harvey, or we get one of these really big.
No more Harveys.
Yeah, no more Harveys, please, no more Harveys. I've got bad memories of that.
Yeah,
as most people do. But I think number one, put competent people in charge at FEMA under the Biden administration. They just basically destroyed FEMA.
FEMA has struggled for a long time.
Yeah, but they didn't do anything to help it. We need
Look
to
at North Carolina; it was a mess.
Yeah, we need to get competent people in there, but get the money to the local officials. Let the local officials spend the money where they need to spend it. Get FEMA out of the way. Let FEMA be a conduit.
Okay.
But not a limiting factor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
FEMA shouldn't be making decisions on who's worthy and who isn't worthy. They just need to get the money. They need to be the conduit to get the money to the local municipalities, county governments, and let them administer that money where it needs to go.
Yeah.
I think they can better determine where that money needs to be spent.
Yeah, with some oversight.
With some broad oversight,
yeah,
but very broad, at the 30,000 foot level, not at the ground level.
Yeah,
I think some of that is true now. When you get into infrastructure, we do have an interstate highway system, which is very vital, and we have to maintain that because I've heard people say, well, we just need to be worried about Texas roadways. Well, it doesn't really work that way. I spent my life in logistics. That road in Wisconsin is just as important to me as this road here in Texas.
Yeah.
Or the one in Washington State, because I used to run trucks up to Washington State years ago. So those roads between here and Seattle and Oregon were pretty darn important to me when I was running those 18-wheelers between Houston there every single day.
Yeah.
So our interstate highway system is critical, and we have to make sure that while we're, working with our local officials, some of that you do need to make sure that we're maintaining the whole system because we all benefit from the system. Yes, we're very concerned about I-10 between here and here, but I-10 goes a long ways, and I've been on both ends of I-10. So we want to make sure all of I-10 is in good condition and working well because it does affect us. We have goods coming in. We have goods going out. We have a lot of goods going out. We got the number one port in the nation by tonnage. There's a lot of cargo coming through here.
Yeah.
So those roads in L.A., in Kansas City, and other parts of the world, of the United States, become pretty important. So it's in our best interest that those roads are properly maintained. Yeah. We can't lose sight of that. Now, for our Texas highway system, our county roads, again, I think trying to work and see where we can find the funds, and I think we'll have to be a little creative on that. The Highway Trust Fund is bankrupt. We had to loan it, we've loaned it $230 billion over the last 18 years to keep it afloat. And so can't lose sight of that fact. And we need to figure out how we're going to fund that going forward, because obviously the model isn't working. And I'm not a fan of adding taxes, but we're going to have to look at it, because the reality is it is broke. It's a broke system, and hoping it to get better isn't going to fix it. So hope is not a strategy. We've got to come up with a plan. We have to come up with a strategy to actually fix it, and hope's not a strategy. Hoping it's going to get better, it isn't going to get better. But I'm sure there are places where we can find funds so that we can take care of local roads, local bridges, because they are vital, and they support. We have to remember, these are the tributaries that serve the interstate highway systems, so they're equally important. So even at the federal level, even though it's a state highway or it's a county road, those county roads, those state highways funnel into our interstate highway system. It's, again, how cargo moves back and forth. So from the federal level, I think they're just important and just as worthy of funding as our interstate highway system, because those are the tributaries that feed everything else. If we don't take care of them, doesn't matter how great our interstates are. If the roads that feed the interstate aren't worthy, it won't matter. So I think it is prudent at the federal level to look and see how can we support our states and local governments to keep those roads just as well maintained as we do our interstate highway system. And I don't see that as a conflict, and it's because one feeds the other.
We have driverless trucks that are coming online now, and that's going to eliminate a lot of jobs. So what can be done to recover those jobs for the truckers who get displaced?
I don't think it will.
You don't?
I don't. And here's what I'm going to tell you why.
Well, there's driverless trucks that are coming online right now.
Okay. My whole career has been, I've worked around 18-wheel trucks or straight trucks. And I guess if you're on the open road, they probably work okay. And they may work kind of okay in congested traffic. But they don't work in my parking lot.
I'm wondering how they get fuel, how they unload, how they deal with the breakdown.
The tell of the tape is, what do they do when they run into problems? And what do you do? It's commercial aircraft, commercial airliners. The reality is the pilot takes off, the pilot lands, in between point A and point B, the pilot maintains. They just make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. They're monitoring systems and watching for bumps, things that, maybe an aircraft that's veered into a space that it's not supposed to be.
So you think that would be the way that the
you're going to have? I think you're going to have somebody in that truck. I don't see, and
it may eliminate accidents, maybe.
Maybe.
Hopefully, it doesn't cause any.
But I don't see a 100%. No more than we have a 100% pilotless aircraft.
Yeah.
Commercial airliners. I know we have drones and things of that nature, but I would prefer to see a driver in every truck. Again, when you get in my parking lot and you've got to back that truck up to that dock, I don't think the computer's going to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry. I've got a lot of experience in that world, and
just don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening. Like you said, somebody's got to fuel it. Somebody's got, there are things other than just.
How do you file an accident report if you get in an accident with them?
So I think we should. I think every truck needs to have a driver in it.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you can use these systems to help take some of the stress off the driver.
Yeah.
And that would be good. Take some of the fatigue off the drivers, and that would be good. I see it more as augmenting the driver as opposed to replacing the driver. And I think what the industry is going to find long term is, I'm right. I think it's a way to augment. We talk a lot about artificial intelligence, and I heard someone use a different term a few years back, and I liked it. It's not artificial intelligence, it's augmented intelligence. And if you take it in that vein, I think it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And same thing's true with the autonomous trucks. I think there's some value in those systems to the industry and to the drivers, taking some of the fatigue and some of the stress off of our drivers.
Yeah. Because they're having to make these unnecessary stops at times.
Yeah. And so it could help, but I think every truck needs to have a driver in it, because there's going to be things come up that you're going to need human intervention. Somebody somewhere, even in a drone, there's human intervention. Somebody is monitoring that, operating that drone somewhere. They might be a million miles away, but somebody is sitting at a computer screen operating that individual drone. So somebody is going to have to be operating those individual trucks, and I think the best person to do it is a person in that cab of that truck.
Right.
So they can take care of, just like a pilot does in a commercial airliner, there needs to be a driver in that truck to take care of unexpected things that will
That they always
not
happen.
may happen, that will happen, and then somebody's got to box that truck up to a dock
And then unload
in a crowded parking lot.
disconnect the air brakes, disconnect everything.
Yeah. So I don't think it'll happen, but that's my opinion.
So, along that same line with trucking, though, a lot of the truckers that I've talked to are thrilled that somebody's finally doing something about the illegal truckers on the road.
I'm thrilled.
It's been a big problem for them because they don't always understand the road signs, or
I can't tell you, especially over it got worse the last few years that I was in business. The number of drivers that would come into our warehouse to either pick up or unload.
didn't understand.
Not a word of English. Not a single word. Couldn't read English, couldn't speak English, and communicating with them was somewhat next to impossible. And a lot of times my warehouse manager would just, because it couldn't, especially if the paperwork didn't match, or they showed up
Just have
with
to call
something
the
that
main
wasn't
office.
on it.
Yeah.
And you just can't, and if they can't communicate with us, how are they operating safely going up and down the highways and byways?
Right.
They're not, is the answer. So I think taking those drivers off the road is 1,000% the correct thing to do. It's a matter of public safety. And
it also gives jobs back to the truckers.
Gives jobs back to our citizens and people that are here legally. And, I dealt with those drivers. They're a problem.
Yeah.
They are a problem, and getting off the road is the right thing to do.
Well, so since we're talking about immigration, let's go into that. Immigration policy remains one of the most divisive issues in Congress. What reforms do you believe are both realistic and necessary, and how would those policies affect everyday Texans?
I'm not opposed to immigration. Again, we talked about the declining birth rate, so we're going to need some level of immigration. I think that we need to make sure that we are properly funding the areas of government that take care of people wanting to enter our country the correct way.
Yeah, because that's been a problem.
It should not be,
Shouldn't be waiting 20 years.
And absolutely. There has to be a way to streamline it and be fair to the individual coming into the country, and also be fair to the country itself to make sure we're taking necessary precautions.
Or maybe bringing in the best and the brightest.
But we shouldn't be taking 20 years to, if you want to come here and you want to be a productive citizen of the United States, you want to become a part of the fabric of this nation, become a part of our culture, and you've got something to offer, I'll welcome you with open arms.
But if you come and commit crimes,
well, then
you're gone.
You're gone.
Yeah.
And I am 100% opposed to anyone sneaking in under the cover of darkness. I don't care why you're coming. I really don't care. I'm just going to be honest about that. No, I'm not going to let you. You're not going to let somebody in your house that way. I'm not going to let you into this country that way. If you want to come here and you've got a valid reason, there's a right way to do it, and that's the only way to do it. But we do need to invest some time, money, and effort into fixing that system. If it's more immigration judges, if it's more streamlined paperwork, or maybe automated systems. Again, we talked about augmented intelligence earlier. There's got to be a way we can use that and streamline that process so that while they're still in their home country, they can get a lot of that work done, so that when they get here, we can move them through the system quicker and get them to being productive into society, and actually benefiting us.
Okay.
I think that's a fair thing for us to address, while at the same time we continue to enforce and secure our borders and prevent people. We need to remove people who have come here illegally, and definitely the ones that are committing crimes. And we need to make sure that no one gets in here illegally. That has to stay.
There's so much fraud going on right now.
So we have to work both sides of that equation simultaneously. It's not one or the other. We got to do both. And I heard over the years we said, well, we have to fix this before we fix that. No, we don't. I don't buy that argument. We can work on both of them at the same time. We have to work on both of them at the same time if we really want to be serious about fixing.
So briefly tell me what committees you would like to be assigned to if you get elected.
I'd like to be on ag, because I've got a background in ag and it's something I'm passionate about. I'd like to be on transportation infrastructure. Again, my entire life has been in logistics. I think that's an area that, a couple of areas that I would do really well. Health and education. I've spent 22 years now in higher ed, so I have a pretty good background there, and I think I can take that background and put it to good use. So those would be, and you got to remember, you're a freshman member of Congress, your opportunities are limited.
Yeah,
but I
you
think
have to earn your way.
You have to earn your, you're not going to be on appropriations as a freshman member of Congress. I don't care who you are. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be on energy in Congress. I don't care who you are. Not your freshman year in Congress. I hear people saying they want to be on those committees, and I'm going, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're no. You need to wake up, because you're dreaming some weird dream. That's not going to happen for any of us.
Yeah, you got to earn it.
But I think those are some committees I can be appointed to, have a reasonable chance to be appointed to. And I think those are committees I can be of immediate benefit because of my background in logistics, background in education, background in agriculture. Those are things I'm very familiar with. They're things I'm passionate about. And they all pertain to District 9.
Okay. So tell me briefly about a difficult position you've had to make and how it shaped your approach to leadership. That's a tough one, huh? He has to sit back and think about that one.
Well, it's just, I think a lot of them are difficult. I think the hardest decision is in business when, you have to make a decision that is best for the whole, but is going to be unfortunate for the individual. Sometimes, the thing that was always the toughest for me as a business owner was having to dismiss an employee. And honestly, I always felt like if we had to dismiss an employee, we didn't do as good a job of hiring as what we should have.
Or it feels like a failure of leadership, maybe.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And so I took it a little personal, and I would always, and I would fret it, and I would make absolutely certain that that's what, but sometimes it is what you just have to do. And even if the employee, let's take it to the extreme and say there was malfeasance involved. They still have a family.
Yeah.
And even though this person acted inappropriately or did something they shouldn't have, whatever,
it impacts everybody.
They have a wife and children at home, or a husband and children at home, that they didn't do that, but they're going to be impacted.
Yeah.
Or in the other case is you've done everything in the world to try to get them there, they're just not going to get there.
Yeah.
It's just.
And you're not responsible for that.
You're just not going to get them there. It's
No.
not going to happen. You've given them every effort to improve. You've given them resources.
Yeah.
And
those can be
just not
tough.
happening. And you have to dismiss them. And, those are painful.
Yeah.
And so you learn over the years, try to do it to make it as least painful as possible on the individual, not try to keep it,
Or make it personal, maybe.
Don't make it personal. Try to just stay on the facts.
Yeah.
And encourage them. Look, this didn't work out. Something's out there for you.
Yeah.
You know, and I have had over the years people who I've dismissed come back and actually thank me.
Oh, that's nice.
Because it did turn them around. And they came back and said, you know, I hated you at the time. But, you know, I had one gentleman who had some pretty severe problems. And he said, look, I was so mad, I could have spit nails. He said, but I know you saved my marriage. You probably saved my life. Best thing you ever did for me was to terminate me. And so, doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But when they do, you really feel good.
Good about that. Yeah.
You know, you did what you had to do, and it worked. It turned that
person's
life around and put them on the right track. And so something kind of tragic turned into something good.
Positive, yeah.
And so I think going through that over the course of 40 years in business, it really, it kind of grounds you, and it makes you humble, and it makes you appreciative and grateful, and just, it's that human spirit and working with them. And you just, I think you appreciate, and it makes you appreciate the other
employees who are doing
that
it right.
much more.
Yeah.
You know, you just want to go hug them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the greatest thing you can do for employees is make sure they feel appreciated.
That's exactly right.
And that was always paramount to me. Is I was pretty free with that term, thank you, but I was also pretty sincere. You know, I had no problem thanking people to do, and I always wanted people to know I appreciated them being there.
Okay.
And I think that's important.
It is important. So we end these with rapid fire questions. They're fun, and you just have to answer with a short answer.
All right.
Okay. What's one issue you've changed your mind on over the years? You got to keep it brief. One issue you've changed your. Can you think of anything?
I'm sure there's something up that just.
You want a different question?
Yeah.
Well, let's do another one.
Yeah,
So how
it's
about?
not popping in my head. I'm sure there's something.
Oh yeah.
I think. Well, I'll tell you one.
What?
I'll tell you one. Something.
You got to keep it
You said
brief,
an
though.
issue. No, you said an issue. That's not really an issue.
Yeah. Let's go to the next
Let
one.
me think on it and run
Yeah.
through some of them.
A book, a podcast, or a person that's influenced how you think.
Oh, well, there's several, but one of the people who influenced me and is part of the reason I'm doing this today, my high school civics teacher, Charles Dyer.
Okay.
Who Mr. Dyer is still with us. He was probably the most amazing civics teacher or teacher in general that is.
And what school was this?
Channel High School.
Okay.
It was my senior year in high school. Everybody had to take civics.
And he was great.
He was awesome, and he is probably. You knew the Constitution when you came out of it.
I had one like that. Her name was Miss Hilliard.
Yeah, and he.
She's tough.
Mr. Dyer was he every day he had a tie on. He was one of the few teachers that every day he had a tie on, and he made sure you knew the material. And he was demanding, but he was also supportive. Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
And he
Just expectations.
yeah, just he set the expectations, and he did everything he could to help you meet them, and he was a big influence on me. I think politically, the very first president that I was able to vote for was Ronald Reagan,
I missed that one.
and
I was just a little bit too young.
I think he politically definitely made a big impact on my life, and I just felt like he did it right. I loved listening to him speak, and thought he was a great, I guess being an actor helped. He was certainly a great orator.
Yes, he was.
But he also just, you trusted him when he spoke. You believed that whether he was right or wrong, you believed that he felt like he was right.
That's good.
And I think that's what people want. They don't mind, if you make a mistake and you're just honest about the mistake and say, guys, I'm sorry. Most people understand. We all, I wish I could tell you every decision I made in life was right. It wasn't. And nobody else. So it's okay.
He's got long answers for the rapid fire.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'll try to do better.
That's okay. What is one skill or ability that's not on your bio? Are you a good singer?
Really good at eating.
No, that's. I think that's not really a skill.
Oh no, I'm the worst. I cannot carry a tune in a bucket. So no, I don't. I go to church and listen.
Oh,
I know you're supposed to make a joyful noise.
Your joyful noise doesn't sound joyful.
No, I wish. No, it just kind of sounds like cats getting stepped on or something.
So, do you have a skill that people would be surprised about?
I'm pretty good on a horse. Pretty good with a rifle.
Oh, okay. Those are good things to have.
Yeah, I'm pretty good on both of those.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with a rifle.
Yeah, it's a good skill to have.
Yes, it is.
Especially if you like to eat.
Especially if you want to protect your home. You want to be confident about it.
Yeah, so those are probably a couple of skills that haven't been shared a whole lot.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
One word you hope voters use to describe you after the campaign's over.
One word.
Congressman. Probably.
Sincere.
Sincere. Okay. First thing you read in the morning, headlines or texts?
First thing I read in the morning? Emails.
Okay. Coffee before conversation or conversation before coffee?
The world doesn't exist without coffee.
I have not had coffee since I was 13. Maybe 11. Yeah.
I
drink chai tea.
Yeah, first thing I do in the morning is drink coffee.
What's the most overrated political phrase? That one's easy for me. I would say the new normal. I'm like, no, I don't want the new normal.
I hate that term,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I'm not going to get the new normal.
Overused. I don't know.
That one's a tough one?
Yeah, I don't know.
What is something you're surprisingly bad at? Singing, I guess, right?
Singing.
Okay.
I'm horrible.
What is one habit that you had to break in life?
Language.
Oh.
Growing up.
Colorful language.
Growing up, again, Mims Meat Company, blue collar company.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time working on the dock, working in the warehouse, working at night, loading trucks. It was an interesting group of fellers, and I picked up their language skills, and it was not good. And I worked. It was pointed out to me by my father that I needed to fix that. And so yes, that's probably one that was a bad habit I picked up,
and you had to fix it.
I try to, I work hard on that because that was one, unfortunately, that was a bad habit I picked up and I had to work to get rid of it.
What's harder, campaigning or staying quiet on social media after you've been attacked?
Probably staying quiet. I love campaigning. That's not hard.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be being attacked and not
be able to say anything back.
Yeah. Well, it's tougher on my wife than me. She wants to fight back.
What's one thing you always have in your truck or car? Sunglasses. Okay, last one. Favorite Texan in history?
From a historical figure.
Favorite Texan in history? There's so many.
Yeah. I think good old Colonel Sam.
Sam Houston.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think growing up, that was a figure that, I'd have to say Sam Houston.
Yeah, he was kind of a tough guy.
He was a tough guy. He was a very imperfect guy.
Intelligent.
But he overcame his imperfections to do good for Texas.
Okay.
And I admire that. I admire that when people can overcome imperfections and do good.
Now, when people, if there's one last message that you want to tell the voters, tell me quickly, what would that be?
Educate yourself on the issues. Educate yourself on the candidates, and make the best decision in your mind who is going to represent you in the manner that you want to be represented. Because we are not your leader, we're your representative. I don't like it when people call elected officials leaders. They're not supposed to be leaders. They're supposed to be representatives. And so don't vote for someone to lead you. Vote for someone who's going to represent you.
Oh, that's good.
Decide
That's
who
great.
that's going to be.
Yeah. Well, Dan, thank you for taking the time to join me.
You bet.
As always, Headlines and Heartlines is about giving voters the information they need and the conversations they deserve as they decide who will represent them. To our listeners, be sure you stay engaged, ask questions, and make your voice heard at the ballot box. Until next time, I'm Vanessa Brazier, and this has been Headlines and Heartlines.